Hey, this is Aryana Rollins. You're listening to the Manifesting Guide podcast. Is happiness important? Is it essential to being successful with manifesting? That's exactly what we're talking about today on the Manifesting Guide. But just before we do that, if you're tired of pushing and forcing yourself to get things done, get your manifesting kit so it'll help you manifest without force or frustration. It's completely free. Go to highertrueself.com/freebies. This is episode 55. Is happiness essential to success with manifesting? Well, it's not only something that happens after you're successful, it's actually a prerequisite to your success. Happiness is not overrated. Let's start with a little equation. I kind of like equations. Desirability equals love. Love equals desirability. I'll explain. I advise all my clients and everyone I speak to that you only ever actively work on an objective, an intention, a goal that has a 10 in desirability on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being most fulfilling. When there's not a true 10 in desirability, the stamina and emotional fortification isn't there to nudge you to stick with it. The energy isn't there for you to follow through on the creative insights to overcome any obstructions that might come up. And if it's big, if it's meaningful to you, things are going to come up, whether it's your mindset or just something happens in life. You now feel taken off track and you got to focus on that. A 10 in desirability feels like falling in love. Not falling in love with the person, but that's not a bad way to think about it, but it's more falling in love with the object of your desire, your intention. And love is a manifesting force, probably the most powerful next to gratitude. Remember back to a time when you realized that you love someone. Did you have to force yourself to think about the object of your love? Not likely. It probably was the exact opposite. You had to pull your attention away. Well, why is that? Besides the obvious feel-good hormones flooding your body, you felt good. It felt good thinking about your loved one, thinking about how it felt to be around them, and likely your beloved felt when you were thinking of them. That felt good to them. The person wanted to be near the person who was sending those loving thoughts. I'm going to repeat that. It's really important. The person, your beloved, wanted to be near the person, as in you, who was sending those loving thoughts. The person reacted and responded to your desire. Well, manifesting works the same way, with one difference. You have to love it. You have to love the idea of it before you get it. Before you get to experience it, before it's in your bank account, before it's in your bed, before it's in your car's garage, okay? You have to love the idea of it. And think about it this way. These loving thoughts, as you connect to your desire, they become manifesting power. There's an energy that gets transmitted. So how do you love something that you want before you have it? Well, keeping your mind on the loving experiences of you having, doing, and being what you want, or being around that person that you want to be around, and holding that, even if you've never had it before, you've got something similar that you can connect to. So right now, I'm going to give you a quick exercise. If you're not doing this while you're driving, just gently close your eyes for a moment. Take a cleansing breath. Exhale out the earlier part of your day. Focus on your heart. And remember a loving moment. Just remember a loving moment. Now, that was pretty simple, right? Now, that's the kind of love that you want to tap into when you're thinking about your objective, your goal, your intention. Now, for most people, though, focusing on something that's not right in front of them isn't easy. And to add to that, we have a lot of other things to focus on, the things that we have to do. like our work, cleaning our house, making food, driving our car, and on and on and on. A lot of things pull and demand our conscious attention, taking our attention away from focusing on our desire. And we all know the power of maintaining a sustained focus. And when we do that with something we want to manifest, it accelerates the time for it to come to us. So, what if there were a way to maintain focus on what you want, say 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with very little effort? Would you want to know more? Well, that's what I love to teach in the Highest Potential program and with everyone I work with, is maintaining that focus. But it's not you consciously having to think about it every minute of every day. It's allowing a part of your unconscious to take it over so you can do what you need to do: work, clean the house, take a walk with the dogs, things like that. Let's talk a little bit first about how your consciousness works. Let's separate it into two components for simplicity's sake: the unconscious and the conscious. What your conscious mind is skilled at and what your unconscious mind is skilled at are two different things. Think about it like this. Your conscious mind is your eyes and ears, your receiving, and your deciding part, what you're going to put your attention on. And it's supposed to be the decider about what you want. It's the conscious awareness. That's your conscious creating power. But for the most part, we aren't trained in how to use this part of our mind, and we relinquish the power, unfortunately, to situations, thinking that we can't have what we want. We just got to accept where we're at, and we really don't have a right to choose. So what can happen is that these become blinders and they're biases. There's a whole body of work, and I absolutely love Eckhart Tolle. But sometimes people can take his message in a way that limits them. What do I mean by like that? Well, accepting what is. Byron Katie, also fabulous teacher, that accepting what is. Well, how do we accept what is and still want to manifest, still make positive changes in our life? We have to recognize that accepting what is means we're not getting all anxious and upset. It's just like, okay, even keel. But in the background, we're working on refining it, improving it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what it means to be a human. We're refiners. So if we have a bias and it's like, well, no, I just should settle, I'm 50 years old and my marriage is okay, He or she doesn't hit me and for the most part we get along, but your heart's not in it. So that becomes a blinder. And it blocks you from your inherent power to change anything, because as soon as you start to change it, that bias comes up like, I don't want to be 50 and alone. It's good enough. It's okay. So what you want to manifest, no question, needs to have your commitment behind it. There can't be any settling. There is a driving passion for you to have that maybe new relationship, okay? So when you tap into that creative power that your conscious mind has to make choices, to put your attention in a direction and embrace your creative power, then you have access to a creative force for change. But that's not enough, because deciding is just not enough. How many times have you tried to make a decision? Not tried to make a decision, you've chosen something like to stop eating sugar or stop having a glass of wine with your evening meal, or that you've made a decision to go to the gym 3 times a week. How consistent were you? How long did it take before you decided to go back to the normal status quo because it was too much effort, right? So deciding isn't enough, and that's where we tap into the power of the unconscious mind. Now, the unconscious mind is a creative, raw power. It's kind of, it's you communicate it, and it communicates to you through your intuitive mind, and it's just waiting for you to tell it what you want. And then it gives you intuitive messages to bring it into reality, to make it happen. It's the helper for you. It's the helper for you to manifest. But for the most part, we have cut off its access to our life. We don't listen anymore. We stop following those synchronistic messages. We stop listening to our intuition. We start being rational and logical, and we ignore the deepest desires of our heart. So everything that I do is focused on bridging that gap, healing that, so that both parts of us, our conscious and unconscious mind, are in harmony. So when we choose to make a change, we hand over to our unconscious to follow through. So again, if you think about, and I've not mentioned it in this podcast, but I've talked about it in many others, if you think about the body as a storehouse of the unconscious mind, it includes all your experiences, including how you felt about them as they happened. Now, some of those experiences became useful habits for later, like how to drive a car, work a computer, work on your smartphone, ask someone out on a date, on and on. Your unconscious mind is the record keeper of all your experiences, your scribe, in a sense. It's faithfully recording all you see, hear, and your conclusions. Those are the decisions made by your conscious mind, what that experience meant to you. Now, these conclusions, these are important. These are really important, so pay attention. These conclusions are judgments about whether something is good or bad. And these judgments, they're emotionally powered, become automated. So you don't have to decide fresh every time. Do I like onions? Oh, I don't know if I like onions. Ooh, I don't like onions. Okay. So you judge it, okay? So when you go to a restaurant, you ask the waiter, hey, does this pasta dish have onions? And you say, oh, it does? No, thank you. Okay. So it allows more of what you've decided is good and less of what you have decided is bad. The unconscious mind blocks the so-called bad experiences that you don't want to have again. Your conscious mind, by not enjoying that experience, literally creates the block and says to the unconscious, not that again. And then the unconscious mind follows through on ensuring it doesn't happen again. This is where it's very sad, because say you fell in love and it was, sadly, it ended and you were heartbroken. You grieved for months. And a part of you says, no, I can't risk my heart like that again. I'm not falling in love that way. I'm only going to be with people who love me more. So if you risk too much, in other words, your conscious mind's decided, I'm not risking again, it will block you from manifesting what you want now. Even if your choice, your manifesting wish or desire is to fall in love again. So these biases, these conclusions we jump to when faced with a new opportunity, they rear their head when something new is happening. We call them, in my line of work, blockers. They block us from taking the appropriate action, feeling enthusiastic, and believing in what we want. Now, it sounds like, they could be, it's a good thing, right? Because we've got that bias. We don't want to experience pain again. We don't want to, give our heart away and then have this devastation 3 months later. But what happens is that it's an all or nothing. It's a black or white. So it's not focusing on the subtleties of the person you could fall in love with. The person right in front of you may have one characteristic that's similar to the last partner, but this bias, this blocker, will cancel your objective, cancel your goal, and you won't manifest it. So your unconscious will pull out everything to make it happen, until it hits one of those biases, one of those assumptions, one of those conclusions that says, I don't like onions, I don't like red hair. Okay. This is a funny example. Say, for example, you don't like or trust people with big heads. Now, unbeknownst to you, you don't remember, but your uncle yelled at you when you were little, and he was so hard to be around, and he had a big head. No big deal, right? Well, it could be a very big deal if you want a new job that pays really well and the person interviewing you has a big head. Or you go on a first date and everything about that person is just perfect. But then you meet them in person and the person has a big head. Now, you may not have conscious awareness of this bias, no conscious recall of the big head judgment from when you were a child, but guaranteed your unconscious mind remembers how hurt you were by the uncle, and it's going to do everything it can to protect you from big heads. And one of the ways it will do to protect you is creating immediate distance between the big-headed person in a variety of ways, like messing up the first interview or insulting your date, or maybe you're on a prospective you're with a prospect for your new network marketing company and you're fire hosing the prospect. So you're guaranteed there won't be a second date, there won't be a second interview, and no second conversation with that prospect. Again, you might say no big deal. Well, it could be a big deal if the only thing that's keeping you from your desired outcome, the thing you want most, is your perfect job with that fabulous salary, a great boss, meaningful work, great team to work with. The only thing keeping you away from that perfect manifestation is the judgment of not liking big heads. Okay. Now, someone who's a student of this work and they know the value of harmonizing their conscious mind and their unconscious, they would likely sense and be aware of that bias when that blocker was activated, and they would have tools to gain control over the reaction so they could perform eloquently in the job interview, get that second date, and be able to rise above what happened in their history. And remember that dictate, avoid all people with big heads. Now, for the most part, most people don't have that conscious awareness of that bias, let alone a way to rise ahead above it, so it's no longer controlling your choices. Are you starting to see how useful it could be to sidestep your history and be able to face situations as they are? Imagine the freedom. Imagine the manifesting possibilities to be able to consciously create new experiences, new successes, and not be controlled by past limiting experiences or fear of repeating the past. To be free of negative expectations and to be filled with love and desirability for what you want to manifest. Happiness is not overrated. Any time that we are feeling a lack of joy, love, harmony, and upliftment, a blocker is running. Well worth repeating that. Anytime we're experiencing less than joy, happiness, upliftment, and fulfillment, a blocker is running. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes we're going to get sad. Maybe we'll experience grief or frustration. I'm talking about something that's sustaining and that your concern and focus is on the mood, okay? That means a blocker is influencing your thinking and feeling. So, to be free of negative experiences and expectations is to be filled with the love and desirability of what you want to manifest. Happiness is not overrated. Having your heart filled with everything that's going to be possible when you manifest the love of your life, the new job, or the new car. So nothing intrudes, not your history, not fear, not doubt, nothing but your loved one, the beloved outcome you want. So let's get back to love as manifesting force. Maintaining a sustained focus on your intention, your desired experience, that which you really want, is not going to be possible if you've got a blocker or bias in control, like that big head blocker. Likely all you'll be focusing on is the big head, and you can't see any of the potential benefits of the job or the qualities of the potential perfect partner, which means your loving focus will be tainted with, I don't want that. The big head blocker is going to fill you so much that you won't even be able to think about your objective, your intention, free of blockers. You're just going to be stuck in big head avoidance. So desirability is love. free of blockers, leading to successful manifesting. That's the aim of my work, that you are successful, you get what you want, and you're free of your history making choices for you. You're free of past limiting experiences standing in your way. I would love to share that work with you. Ooh, I enjoyed that podcast. I hope you did too. So we're going to wrap up now, and I will make sure you get access to the gift so you can continue this work we're doing right now, learning about what is fear of success. That's a blocker. And you can get that in the manifesting kit at highertrueself.com/freebie. And that will show you how to manifest without force or frustration. And remember, as we wrap up, when you confirm yourself and stop looking to others to recognize you, it frees you to be yourself. Self-confirmation frees you to succeed on your terms. Thanks for listening.